Here we are again. Can you believe how quickly Sunday goes to Sunday? And we are ready for it. And we are here today because we're here at a divine invitation, and we responded to the impulse within us to be here, to gather together as like minds and like hearts, with the intention always of being our better selves, our best selves. And as such, making the difference in life, making the difference in the world, making the difference while we are here, so that when we go and leave it for a much bigger and better thing, we are going to know that this place is a little bit better because you and I were here when we were here. And so we continue on with this thing called intention. And why is it so important, intention? Well, it's important because out of it grows our lives, and out of it our path is made, and from it we design the direction of our lives. And therefore it is imperative that you and I be consciously aware, to be intentional and purposeful, and to know that when we can be quite deliberate in doing what we're doing, being who we are, thinking what we think and saying what we say. And knowing that as a consequence of being awake and alert, all of that is going to injure nothing and no one, harm nothing and no one, but it's going to be a very real and present help on this plane. We want to be as helpful as we can be as we move ahead and unfold more and more and more of the great spirit of life that wants to reveal itself more fully every single breath we take, so that we can indeed be all that we are created to be. So intention, yes, it is important. But it can only support us and help us when we know that the intentions that we set come from our close conscious connection with our source and flow out of our listening to that divine inspiration, so that all we're doing simply is channeling that thinking, that feeling, that energy, that power, that good. And then we are making the difference and being all that we can be. It's no coincidence that on today, as we look at barriers to intentional life and living and its power, that we're celebrating our intercultural interconnectedness, interfaith aspect of who we are as images and likeness of the divine. If we are all created as an image and likeness of the divine, then we are definitely, we are all one. There's no denying that. And metaphysically and in quantum physics too, that's evident more and more and more with each new inspiration that we have among the whole community, whether it is the spiritual community or the philosophical community or the religious community, whatever. It's one thing happening. It's one life living itself. So these intentional people, these purposeful people, all of the enlightened ones were intentional, they were purposeful, they were conscious, they were awake, they were alert, they were tuned in, they were switched on, they were in the moment, they were present. And that's what gave them what seemed to be their power, which wasn't their power at all. They just became outlets for the power, the one power that there is, that's all, and that's what you and I are called to too. Always, just to be that. And we get so busy trying to be the me of ourselves instead of the I of ourselves. We forget the I of ourselves so often. And so one of the greatest barriers to purposeful and intentional living indeed would be our misunderstanding of the golden rule, or our lack of response to the golden rule that is across the board in all religions. As you would have others do unto you, do unto them in like manner. Or, put differently, don't do to anybody what you wouldn't want somebody to do to you. And not understanding that in a universal way causes all kinds of trouble amongst ourselves. Now, whether it's the family at home under the roof of the house I call my home, or whether it's the global family, that's the thing that gets us into trouble. And let me tell you, family is family, whether it's my blood family or my global family. It's all family. And we're always, endeavoring to maintain a peaceful family environment, are we not? We are always, that's the call. And as you know, within families, there are individuals within the individuals. Everybody thinks that their opinion is the right opinion, and everybody else should think the same thing. Everybody thinks that what they want is what everybody else should want, and better get on board with it. For times, not always, but for times. And when we're in that zone at that time, it's not very pleasant. And there's a lot of tension and stress, and there's a lot of, in-house fighting and things like that. Well, the world is just the same as an ordinary, everyday family. It's the way it is. Family is family. Maybe a big family or a small family, but they have the same challenges. All families do. So we're called today to take a look at ourselves as being so much bigger and wider and vaster than we see ourselves, and to see ourselves in a vista that's amazingly expansive. So although I am a member of my blood family, I'm a member of a spiritual family, I'm also a member of a global family. And as such, I have responsibilities all round. I cannot just say, I'll take care of my own family and that's it, and that's all I'm expected to do. No, it's not. And between us all, we can take care of everything. Which is not to say there'll be unity in diversity and diversity in unity. My gift may be to hone in on this little patch here and give all I have to this little patch here. And as I said last week, that could be my deep, deep concern and affection for animals. So for the animal kingdom, I will pour in all my effort and energy. It might be children, small children. It might be the elderly and the infirm. It might be whatever it is. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It takes us all honing in on whatever we're called to take care of what we're called to. Some of us may have a global picture. I want to take care of small children, yes, but all of the children in the world, not just the ones here in this corner, but all of the world's children, whatever, you see. So we have to get a sense of ourselves as being these vast energies, big energies, with great capabilities, universal capabilities. You and I have personal responsibilities, but we have universal responsibilities too. And when you sit down and truly look at it, there's only one barrier to living a purposeful and intentional life, as I was sharing this morning at 9 o'clock. And that barrier is me, myself, and I. Now, out of that one barrier, out of me being my biggest challenge, flows all the challenges in the world, all of them. In my personal life and in my global life. Out of me being that handicap in my own life as far as intentional and purposeful life and living is concerned. And that reason is because I am confined in the box of materiality. I see the world as material. I see myself as material. I see myself as form. I see the world as form. And I differentiate this form from all other forms, and consequently, the ego, when it does that, goes into separation. So it sees itself as having to fight tooth and nail to be seen, to be attended to count, to have its needs met, to make sure it's not missing out on anything, gets its fair share, has a right place wherever it is, and has an important place wherever it is. The ego is going to fight tooth and nail for all of that, because the ego is very scared and very frightened, and I never tire of reminding us all of this, because that's what gets us into trouble. This personality, egoic self, that forgets it is so much more than that, forgets the big universal picture, forgets the image and likeness of what it is and who it is and how it is and so on, but just thinks it's this little person fighting for its place and fighting for its, 5 minutes wherever and so on, to be seen, to be heard, to be recognized, to be acknowledged, to be acclaimed and proclaimed and confirmed and covered and all the rest of it that the ego needs all the time, all the time, all the time, until it feels it's safe. But the thing about the ego is it never feels safe, and it never feels it's getting enough. It kind of always feels on rations of whatever it is all round, that it's just getting rations and it deserves more than rations. That's what the ego is inclined to feel and think, until it's embraced and cherished and loved for what it is. That beautiful thing that makes me uniquely me, and that makes the image and likeness that I am of God uniquely me, uniquely the image and likeness of God. And so, when I take care of the egoic needs, then I am ready for integration, the integration of the force and the power and the spirit of me with the humanity of me. And then I can go into intentional, purposeful living, strongly and sovereignly and fearlessly, most of the time. Fearlessly most of the time. We'll never be without fear, and it's not a bad thing, because, fear keeps us kind of edgy and keeps us, wanting to come back again, to identify with something greater than fear is, knowing there is something for me to identify with that is greater than fear. We all have so many expectations of each other and of ourselves. We expect so much from ourselves. We expect so much from others. And I think instead of expectations, what you and I could do is exchange expectations for support. We could support ourselves and support each other and stop all these things that we expect from ourselves and each other, which sets us up for failure because we never live up to those expectations ever, either meeting our own or others. It's impossible. So if we could just know that it's given to us to support ourselves, the great self of ourself will allow that beautifully and magnificently. And we know that we're here to support, not to expect, but here to support. We're here to be a help to ourselves and to each other, not to kill each other with expectations. Expectations, always living in a state of expectancy, of course, that's different. The expectancy of my life unfolding beautifully as it's supposed to, and my life taking me deeper, deeper, deeper back to my own essence and truth, the only place I can find home and be comfortable, back in my essence and truth. Nothing else can satisfy me or anybody else. Now, why wouldn't I want to commit to that? And let's let ourselves off the hook. Let's let everybody else off the hook. And stop all this nonsense of nya-nya, 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 nya-nya. If it's not one nya-nya, it's another nya-nya. And it's all kvetching, which what? Douses my light, douses my true energy, douses my ability to be the sovereign being that I am. And what do we mean by sovereignty? We mean humility. And what do we mean by humility? We mean poise. Poise. A poised person has a very attractive energy. It's very beautiful. It's very gracious. It's very lovely. It's a joy to be around. It's uplifting. We sense that energy, and we like it, and we want to be in it and near it and around it. But that we have to find first and foremostly in ourselves before we can find it in others and elsewhere. And that's what this is all about. That's why you and I come together on a Sunday, to really and truly connect with the greatness of ourselves, the wholeness of ourselves, the fullness of ourselves, the ability within ourselves to rise up above anything that crosses our path, by not getting afraid in its presence, by not giving it the power that it doesn't and is not supposed to have, but by going to the power within us, around us, and about us, drawing from that and taking the power to whatever it is that's challenging us, and let that power take care of it, knowing that it will if I am on board with it. It can only be done one person at a time, and I must begin with myself. And then I must go forward into helping one other person. I said one other person. I love what Mother Teresa said. She said, I never think in terms of crowds. I think in terms of persons. If I were to think in terms of crowds, I would never begin anything, she said. She said, it is the person that's important. And so consequently, I'm interested in one-to-one relationships. We can do what we are capable of doing, made to do, when we treat each person as a person, one at a time, and we stop thinking about the amazing amount of crowds and people we're going to help. What is a crowd anyway? How can you help a crowd? How can you meet the needs of a crowd? You can help one person at a time to meet their own needs by giving them the respect and the care and the listening to and the presence of something greater than you are. Don't give them your presence. They don't need your presence. They need the power and the presence of Spirit within you coming through. That's what they need, because that is a reflection of themselves. It's a mirror that they can look into and then recognize themselves in so doing, you see. It's an amazing thing that you and I think one of the greatest barriers to purposeful life and powerful life and living and intentional life is our great expectations. The great expectations we have of everybody else around us and what we expect of everybody else around us, and indeed ourselves too, when all we need to have is an open ability to be, as Francis of Assisi, a channel of peace. His great prayer, make me a channel or an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, bring out pardon. Where there is doubt, true faith in you, O Master, grant that I may never seek so much to be consoled as to console, so much to be understood as to understand, so much to be loved as to love with all my heart. Make me a channel of your peace. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. It is in giving that we receive. It is in dying to the small egoic self that we are born into eternal life. Oh, Master, make me a channel of your peace. Would that each one of us could pray it the way Francis prayed it. The way Francis prayed that prayer. Lord, make me an instrument, a channel of your peace. Because if I'm not that, there's no way I can be the very real and present help that I can be if I'm coming from that grace and that state and that place of humility, knowing I of myself do nothing, nothing at all. It is the power, it is the presence of the Spirit of life itself within me that does the work through me when I give it a venue, when I give it an outlet, when I allow it to flow. People of intention are of intention because they are awake, they are conscious, they are present, they are here, they are now. They are the ones who have transcended resistance. They resist no more. They are the ones that know that life is one life, and everything and one in life is that one life. They know that. They are the ones that simply say, here I am, like the great prophet. Here I am, Lord. It is I, Lord. I have heard you call me. I will go, Lord, where you lead me, and I will hold your people in my heart. But always, these ones who made such a difference did it only because they gave themselves up and surrendered to that which was greater than they were, knowing that that's all they had to do to be of loving service and make the difference in life and living. So today, I honor your light. I honor your image and likeness of spirit as the truth of your being. Today gives me an opportunity to celebrate the truth of you, the beauty of you, the grace of you, the absolute magnificence of you, and say, Om Shanti, Shanti, Om. God, peace, peace, God, in you, through you, by means of you, always and forever. So it is.